This is a short film created by Benson Polytechnic High School alums from the class of 2003. It is about the history and growing pains of our unique inner-city high school in Portland, Oregon. First, let's learn a bit about the person who the school was named after. Simon Iverson was born in 1851 to a Norwegian family. The Iversons immigrated to the U.S. in 1867 and changed their name to Benson when they became U.S. citizens. In the 1880s, Simon Benson worked as a logger in Wisconsin and eventually grew his own logging business. He married in his late 20s and moved to Portland, Oregon in the 1890s. By the 1890s, he was a wealthy man, entrepreneur, investor, and builder. He was involved in financing and building several iconic locations in the Northwest. He built his historic family house, now called the Simon Benson House, which was originally on Southwest 11th and Clay. It was later preserved and moved to the Portland State University campus, which now houses their Alumni Association. In 1912, he opened the Benson Hotel, first known as the Oregon Hotel in downtown Portland. Also in 1912, Benson financed the design, fabrication, and installation of the famous Benson bubblers, some of which were built by Benson High School students once the foundry opened. There are now more than 127 fountains throughout the city, including one in the front of Benson Polytechnic High School. In 1916, he championed the building of the Columbia River Highway. In 1921, he built the Columbia Gorge Hotel near Hood River. In 1942, Simon Benson died. He left quite the legacy in the trades and construction. In 1908, the Portland School of Trade began, which was originally a 3-year course of study for boys in the trades. It was located on Northwest 11th and Davis. With Benson's background in logging and construction, as well as his interest in the trades, he became vested in the professional development of young local tradesmen. He offered his support with training boys in this particular school, and he later encouraged the school to expand. It was renamed Benson Polytechnic High School following his steadfast support. The new school site moved to Northeast 12th and Hoyt, where it remains today. Benson funded most of the construction, which began in 1916. During construction, the main second-story portion of the school and the north shop wing were opened. By 1918, 406 boys were enrolled at Benson Polytechnic High School. The high school was put on pause during World War I. However, the school grounds were used for soldiers' training for World War I during that time. Temporary buildings were added for barracks for the troops in the back of the building. From 1916 through 1918, the North Wing, Foundry, and South Wing were utilized as an infirmary during the Spanish pandemic flu. In 1919, the school reopened for high school students full-time. In 1920, the printing department started, and the Tech Pep was first published, which continues to present day. In 1923, KFIF started, which was a student-run radio station. By 1930, KFIF was sold to the school district and renamed KBPS, which still runs to this day. In 1926, aviation was added as a shop course. CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. A variety of CTE classes were added as the student body and interest in its programs grew. These CTE classes were offered as majors, which students could specialize in, similar to how one specializes in a course of study at college. By 1940, 2,800 students were enrolled, and Benson was the largest school in Portland, Oregon. When World War II started, Benson's campus was utilized again for training military off hours. Thus, the building was in use 24 hours per day. Due to its continuous use, the buildings became overused and run down. Simultaneously, student morale and interests declined as many boys at the time lost motivation to get an education. From 1945 through 1952, Benson became a dumping ground, so to speak, for boys who didn't want to go to school after the war.
My father graduated from Benson, and he told me when he went there in the 30s, it was a school for dummies. You went there to learn a trade. That was it.
In 1952, Benson experienced a positive turning point, and enrollment was on the upswing. This positive change was largely due to the school board changing directions and hiring Dr. Leon Minear as principal. Dr. Minear was instrumental in turning the school around. His philosophy for Benson was, come to Benson by choice or go back to your neighborhood school if you can't behave or get along.
Dr. Leon Minear, and he was a no-nonsense, no fooling around. He was a serious individual. I never met him, but you can tell from the way the teachers reacted when they talked about him that suddenly they felt like they had a leader that was going to move the school forward.
Benson was profoundly important to me and made a tremendous impact on me. I don't know, there was something about Benson. I felt very strongly that Benson was important to go and gain the education that you could, a vocational education, and tie that in with an education.
The expectation was to work hard, buckle down, and study. Following this change, Benson's environment was that of focus, diligence, and discipline.
There's an old saying, confidence must be earned by the individual, and my schooling here at Benson provided that. I was challenged and had to overcome and learn, and you gained confidence in taking some difficult courses and getting through.
One of the most important things that the school reinforces is independence. It's how to be independent and how to get things done. And that's one of the greatest skills that this school has given me. And besides that, a wealth of opportunities. I've had the chance to work here for a couple summers as managing all the computers on my own. And it's given me a lot of opportunities to interact with people, learn the different types of personalities, because when you go in the business workplace, you have to know how to work with all different types of people.
It turned out many successful tradesmen and/or scholars prepped well for college if they so chose.
For the most part, most of the stuff I learned at Benson, I still use to this day, like house wiring, residential electrician. It still has an impact. I'm still in communication with my old instructor, Mr. Rishu. We still talk. I do jobs for his brother, his daughter, his son-in-law, his friends. Yeah, he's been a great support ever since high school. He's been here still.
Last tech show when I had 4 kids standing in here who are all under 24 years of age, and they're all apprentice electricians, and they all own houses in Portland. I was pretty proud of that, you know? So the school does a lot for kids, especially does a lot for kids who are struggling in life. It can help give them some direction. It can help them make the connection between education and what they can do in life.
That even my peers today, I talked about their high school experience, and it just pales in comparison. They're like, oh yeah, we had one shop class. I was like, oh, that's cool. I spent half my day in shop classes. Just a phenomenal experience. I had to learn how to weld, run manual milling machines. I was kind of jealous of my automotive friends who got to tear apart engines and rebuild those things, but being able to create things in the manufacturing classes that I was in was just an amazing experience.
During the years that I were here, each quarter there would be a factory or a plant visit. So you would go over to a manufacturing plant, maybe it was trucks, and so they would open it up in the evening, And so all the students would go through, and then what you had to do is do a write-up in your shop class of what you observed, what kind of processes they used, and then kind of what you learned and so forth.
In 1953, the school board launched several upgrades, including the addition of the library, science, and auto shops in 1954. The North Shop wing remodeled in 1955. By the 1960s, Benson was considered one of the best high schools in the city. It boasted rigorous academic and shop classes and high-caliber students.
When I was a freshman in '66, we had a student body of 2,400 with 600 freshmen. And the school just webbed together. Everybody got along just fine.
Benson had things other schools did not. You could learn how to build a house at Benson. You could learn how to build a radio at Benson. You could get yourself prepared for a trade at Benson. If you wanted to be a foundry worker, you could learn how to build a pattern and fill it full of metal and turn it into a sculpture or whatever. There were a lot of, fabrication skills that you could learn there.
I just remember that I had a sense of pride going to Benson because I think it was a school you had to apply for. And some of the things I remember about when you tell people you went to Benson, you sort of kind of think a little bit, feeling of pride coming through and say, oh, really?
I would say a real active student body. I mean, you have a tremendous band, one of the biggest bands in the city, always in the grand floral parade, big choir, glee club, a full complement of everything you needed in those days at Benson, as well as the technical. But we had all the academic things supported, and you talking about when you had assembly, it was like, even though no girls there, man, it was always just exciting and electricity. I can remember in a game on a Saturday afternoon, we played Jackson High School at the stadium, and we had over 10,000 people there just for a regular season game, just to support. So yeah, I think it was the best choice I could have made,
In 1973, Benson became co-educational and women could enroll. In 1980, health occupations courses were added and female enrollment increased.
I looked for, different high schools to see if their programs would fit my interests. And my neighborhood high school is actually Madison, and it's about 2 minutes away from my house. But I said, wow, look at Benson. Look at that, amazing health occupation program. And I made the right choice because when I came here, I had so much fun. I learned all these skills that I'm able to use right now in my life.
I was totally amazed by the school. And there used to be an automotive teacher, Bruce Higby, and he used to teach a class for teachers. And it was emergency automotive for women to deal with emergencies in their cars, and like changing a tire and things like that. And I thought, how amazing. And then they also used to teach classes in building construction. How to sew a piece of wood, how to glue it together, how to do things. So I was totally in love with the schools from day one.
From the 1980s to early 2000s, Benson remained a very diverse school, as students applied from all over Portland metro area.
It was very diverse. It was very competitive. I was into athletics, and so my room, people I were hanging out with were always part of the sports team and whatnot, and we teased each other, we joked with each other, but we also pushed each other and helped lift each other up at the same time. It was a really unique feeling.
One great thing about Benson is it has a lot of diversity, so it gives perspective. There are people that come from rich areas or poor areas. We have Indians, we have Chinese, we have Viets, we have Caucasians, and that great intermix is what you'll really see in the workplace and other places.
I remember thinking that it was really diverse. Like at the time when I was going, I think I had not encountered a lot of people that actually looked like me. I came from an area where my school was predominantly Caucasians, and so just being able to see other folks who looked like me, who were interested in the same things as me, that was really exciting.
Really diverse, so much so that I didn't realize going from Miami how there was such a lack of diversity in Portland. So I was like just embedded, people from all different backgrounds, a lot of different perspectives, and I liked that quite a bit.
As a magnet school, students had to apply, write an essay, and get accepted, similar to how one applies to college.
The enrollment for many years was simply 2 recommendations from your middle school. It used to be shop teacher or math science teacher, and an essay to come into Benson, and then based on the essay and so forth, and those recommendations, you would come in.
It made it, the people that came in were just as good as you, if not better. So you had to keep up with them, and then that's what made it unique, because they're all good kids.
A lot of high schools had an area where you automatically got to go to that high school if you lived in that area. And Benson wasn't like that. Benson was, the cream of the crop only got to go to Benson. You had to apply, you had to, write an essay and hope to be selected.
Also, as a magnet school, the students all genuinely wanted to be there, which boosted morale and students' performance in academics as well as athletics.
I will say that my favorite memory is just the entire Benson Tech experience. I wanted to go to Benson since I was in the 4th grade. And so I spent my whole grade school years, I was going to Benson, I wasn't going anywhere else. When I finally got accepted, that was probably the greatest feeling in the world to build it. I was going to go to Benson and I wanted to be there, which I feel sorry for other kids that end up at high school and they're just kind of going to high school. I mean, I wanted to go to Benson so bad I could taste it. So my memory is the fact that I got accepted and I excelled at it. So just the whole high school experience, and I'm on the alumni board, and I'm a very, very proud Benson graduate.
Everybody seemed to have like a good direction for what they wanted to do. Like you had a lot of options you could explore like your freshman and sophomore year, but then you got to like really dial it in and figure out what you want for your junior and senior year. Just kind of what happens in life. You get a bunch of options in life, and then you got to dial it in and find your direction in life. So it's kind of like a microscopic version of what happens in real life for me. So it prepared me for life very well.
I would say the fact that I was taking classes that my peers weren't taking, the fact that it was a magnet school that I had to get accepted into, the fact that they had just these really cool programs. I mean, I didn't know other students leading up through 8th grade, they went to different schools and whatnot, but they didn't have the level of CTE classes that I was exposed to. So I think really it's the CTE programs, the health occupations, as well as the VICA, the vocational programs. That's what, to me, makes Benson really, really unique. And that's something that really stands out to me that made me super proud to live in school.
I think the most unique thing about Benson is everybody who's there really wanted to be there. I remember, applying to school and you get to pick a major. It really felt like college a little bit. Like you get to pick your path and you get to, participate in activities that really will engage you. So it's not just math and science and academics, but really kind of getting your hands on and seeing how you might be doing this in real life later on in life. So it just felt like it was more engaging than just regular school, and there was something for everybody.
In 2001, the No Child Left Behind Act, also known as NCLB, was put into effect. This later altered the admissions process for Benson, which ultimately had a ripple effect over student enrollment and morale.
It's partially due to the No Child Left Behind law, but not entirely. It's also has to do with the district and its motivations and what it wants to do to try and make everybody happy. But basically what they did is they changed the admission policy for Benson. So we got more students who were running away from their home schools and less students who were coming to Benson for the programs.
By 2003, the PPS Board of Education changed Benson's transfer policy.
The NCLB was used against us, and they made it a transfer school, which it didn't have to become. And so we got kids who were fleeing their neighborhood versus wanting to come to Benson, and that made a huge difference in the ambition and the attitude of the kids that were here. We had I taught freshmen at that time, and most of the freshmen were surprised that they had to take shop classes and couldn't figure out why were they stuck in these shop classes.
Beginning in 2004, the Benson Lottery was run in the Central Enrollment and Transfer Center. Lottery eligibility was based on submission of a one-time lottery application, attendance at a mandatory meeting, and a signed statement of understanding of Benson's unique programs and features.
Another thing that's impacted us is the way that students have been placed here, because we don't have our own catchment area. There's no neighborhood that's feeding into the program. And so they've gone from a program of students applying for admission and having to meet certain criteria. It was very simple. It wasn't that hard, but they had to show an interest in the program to come here. And then the district's gone from that to a lottery system. And the lottery system is students apply to get in, and then they're simply pulled out of, well, a computer does it, but they're pulled out of a hat. And the district has a transfer system in which they give weights to the students applying. They give a weight for gender to balance the ratio in the district. They give a weight for low socioeconomic status, and they give a weight for low performing students to get an opportunity in another school. Then, since we don't have a catchment area, and they are using that formula, what happens is the students that end up here are students that are coming here for the wrong reasons. They're being admitted based on factors that aren't related to their interest. And they're not completely committed to the program. In fact, a lot of our students that come here have had no awareness of the program we offer.
Alterations to the high school system design for PPS in 2009 through 2011 resulted in the closure of Marshall High School and enrollment caps for Benson and Jefferson High Schools. The alternative proposal for Benson during this time was to convert it to a 2-year vocational school and merge athletics with Jefferson High School. The Benson Alumni Board pushed back against this option. Both options of change were designed with the intent for all high school students in the district to have similar access to opportunities in a wide range of high schools within the district. However, this resulted in an enrollment cap at Benson. This enrollment cap then caused the unfortunate cutting of certain CTE courses in athletics over the years.
They would say, there isn't enough space. She'd pack the school with the other programs. Oh, there's not enough space. So we would see in Benson turning away, or the enrollment people at PPS turning away 300 kids. So you'd have 500 applicants, 285 get accepted. That's not right. And that was one of the big things for me, is we would continue to see this turning away of hundreds of kids.
No mandatory meeting was required after this. The essays were reviewed by staff, but not scored. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the entrance essay requirement was waived entirely and has since not been reinstated. Since 2022, all applications are accepted in the lottery, but students who receive offers are required to forecast to Benson by a certain date, or their offers of acceptance are rescinded.
Changes at Benson in particular, mostly in the last 5 years, just in the change in enrollment policies. And it wasn't clear, I don't think, from a broad band of our school board and system to realize it was not just looking at grades and things like that, but kids had a desire to want to come here. And in that way, it was a limited kind of curriculum they had choices of. They didn't have homemaking or classes involved with a lot of language classes, only 1 or 2 years available, but they had a full variety of professional technical classes. And so even, and one thing was limited, this other one's very broad. They desired it much so, and I think it served their purpose.
The students here should be here because they want the programs that we have to offer. Some kind of mechanism or criteria for screening students' motivation for being here. If they want to be here because they want the automotive program, that's great. They should be able to come here. And right now we have a problem with a lot of students coming here from schools that are failing schools, and NCLB law requires that they're given an opportunity to transfer to a different school that is performing at a higher level. And so we've had a lot of kids coming here because they're fleeing their neighborhood school. That's not necessarily the best reason to come to this program.
You want them to be successful when they leave, that's all. And it's really hard to know if they are or they won't. You don't. Nowadays, it's so different. Before you were vocationally channeled into an area, and hopefully you'll maybe go in the area, but you were well ready for college too.
I think there's a lack of understanding about Benson as a professional technical high school. I think that people that have not come into the system that are familiar with the high school system but not Benson, which is kind of unique, don't understand the nature of a CTE high school and the integration of academics with CTE and how powerful that is for preparing students to be successful. I think everybody that works in an environment like this has to buy the concept of the power of integrating CTE and academics. If you don't buy into it, if you don't get it, you're going to be a constant outlier, you're going to be constantly unhappy, and that's going to translate into how you teach or how you administer the school policies, and kids are very reactive to atmosphere. They pick up on it instantly, and if you believe in what you're doing and you're passionate about what you're doing, kids will buy into that. And if you're unhappy, kids pick up on it instantly. And then they say, well, this high school must be going downhill. It's not as good as it used to be because I've heard it grown-ups say so. So now I'm getting a raw deal, so now I'm pissed off.
We used to have 8 or 10 majors, and I think it's down to like 6. The biggest loss last year was the architectural drafting. I mean, it always used to amaze me. I was always really proud of our architectural drafting kids design the house, the engineering kids, get in there and help with the design and the blueprints, and then the building construction people go out there and build it. And, and the communication people put out the ads, and so it's almost like a big family business. And I think that all that changed about 4 years ago when the students that started to come to Benson did not come to Benson for the right reason. They did not come to Benson because they wanted to major. Most of them did not know why they were here.
By 2008 through 2009, enrollment dropped to 1,134. 61% of the student body qualified for reduced lunch due to enrollment caps, which kept enrollment to about 825 or so until recent years. In 2008 through 2009, the BPHSAA was founded to fight to preserve the school, its unique CTE classes, academics, and athletics, and has continued to advocate for Benson into the present day. They continue to meet and brainstorm different ways to boost enrollment and preserve the integrity of the student body and school itself. Despite misgivings about admitting students by lottery and resulting demographic changes, the school's graduation rate continues to be comparable to the district's high SES schools.
Back in 2008, Portland Public Schools School Board floated a proposal to turn Benson into a 2-year skills academy, effectively downgrading it from a comprehensive 4-year high school, removing so much of what makes Benson Benson, and thus, I think, removing the heart of Benson and transitioning it towards, I think, eventual closure. That thankfully resulted in kind of a ground sweeping energy and upset amongst alumni, but there wasn't, Facebook was in its early days and there wasn't an organization or specific way for people to gather, discuss strategy, and voice that concern. And so the Alumni Association was formed out of a few alums who recognized that there was a need for that. They were able to reach out to folks and initiate a letter writing campaign that squelched that proposal. And then the Alumni Association continued, recognizing that this was maybe not a one and done threat. They were correct, and so it's been kind of like whack-a-mole in the time since. There have been times when they have talked about removing sports entirely from Benson, which of course would be a huge disincentive for many students to attend. They talked about combining our sports teams with Jefferson. These are initiatives that the Alumni Association has been very vocal in fighting. Similarly, kind of the proactive side, we were very vocal supporters of funding the bond measure that has gotten Benson built, the modernization, but it is effectively a new building.
In recent years, PPS started the School Building Improvement Bond Program, which is a multi-billion-dollar modernization project. Since 2020, PPS has begun revamping 5 of the high schools in the district, including Benson. In 2021, the modernization of Benson began. It is slated to reopen in September of 2024. Much of the building has been retrofitted to preserve portions of Benson's historic walls, including the original brick facade. New construction has been integrated into the original design. 10 buildings are now on site. Some of the contractors are Benson graduates working on the modernization of the school. Current electrical CTE students have toured the construction site to gain insight into how the building will come together and apply these concepts to their trade. Benson Tech has a proud history of providing Portland Public School students with both a rigorous academic foundation and the career and technical education, CTE skills, necessary to meet the region's workforce growth needs. Benson's CTE programs offer learners the opportunity for authentic, hands-on application while simultaneously developing sought-after workplace competencies. Not only does the school produce graduates who possess marketable CTE, academic, and soft skills, but it does so across demographics.
If you notice the blossoming of CTE programs through the other high schools in the last 5 to 10 years, it's actually pretty amazing. And it's that recognition that kids need to be exposed to do things other than just pure academics and go to college and go find yourself. I think it has a great chance to. I think there's a recognition that going to work is okay, and you have all your alternatives. But if you can't go out and make money somehow with your time, you're in a bad way. And I think getting kids organized into that, getting more industry partnerships. PPS is not good with industry partnerships. It's challenging. Everybody talks about it, but it's hard to find them to be great examples. That'll be something we will try to continue to develop, and that just be something that's continuous effort. But now that we're back, not just in the pause mode of Marshall, let's say, this gives us a great, and it's something to bring people to. I would take people on tours of aviation and they'd say, Rob, this is great, but this is an industrial museum. Where's the composites? Where's this or where's that? We're looking at stuff from the 20s, 30s, and 40s in here, and they were right. It was an industrial museum. Now you can bring people to it who are in industry and they can see something more current, just in the way that it is set up. It doesn't have the old industrial darkness, so to speak. It will have a more modern feel and look, and a lot of that old stuff will be gone. So I think there's a great opportunity there just to get the the industries and the trades people excited that this school looks and feels more like what it can create.
I really believe that Benson will come back. We're gonna turn this around. I believe that. Yeah, we've hit lows and we've come back as good as ever, and there's no reason why we can't do that now.
We need to be smarter about what we need to do. And I think that professional technical education is about education being smarter, about being more practical, and about being something for those 80% that may or may not go to college, but that they do want a better income. They want a better life, things like that. So I think Benson has a truly center stage position in Portland, and it should be looked at it that way. And that's from somebody who's been here 23 years and seen several thousand kids benefit from it.
We are thankful for our developmental years at Benson. It prepared us well for college and gave us relevant hands-on skills that we still use in daily life. The diversity of the student body was unmatched, and a certain harmony existed within that context. We hope to preserve and grow this atmosphere going forward. Students past, present, and future are very lucky to receive the opportunities that Benson offers, and we hope it continues to make a comeback and lead in the district as a unique and thriving professional technical school. Thank you to all of our dedicated educators who helped shape and influence us.